The sharp crack of a hand meeting soft skin echoed through the sterile silence of the laboratory. Everyone froze, the fluorescent lights humming above, the test machine still running, the faint antiseptic smell clinging to the air. She staggered back, clutching her swollen belly, eyes filling with tears that refused to fall. The man who had just struck her, her millionaire husband in his tailored suit, looked down with cold arrogance, as if her pain was nothing more than an inconvenience. And in that charged moment, when her dignity was hanging by a thread, a figure emerged from behind the glass partition. Her brother, a Navy Corpsman, now a quiet lab technician, who had seen wounded soldiers cry out on battlefields, but never imagined he'd see his sister bleed from betrayal in a place meant to bring life. Dear listeners, before we continue, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the strength of women who refuse to stay broken, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Royal Stories, and share this tale with others. Your support helps bring these powerful stories to life. She had never thought her life would unravel like this. Once, she was just a small town girl who fell in love with a man whose smile seemed to promise the world. He was wealthy, confident, and showered her with attention when they first met. To her, he wasn't just a millionaire businessman. He was her dream come true. But over time, the charm faded, and she began to see what lay beneath the polished surface. Control, pride, a need to always dominate. And now, standing in that lab, pregnant with his child, she bore the sting of his palm across her face, a mark not just on her skin but on her soul. Her brother, who had returned from military service and found quiet work in the hospital laboratory, rushed forward. Memories flashed in his mind. Memories of carrying wounded comrades through gunfire, patching bleeding men with steady hands, whispering words of comfort to dying soldiers. But none of that compared to this moment, seeing his sister shaking, broken, disrespected by the very man who vowed to protect her. He wanted to roar, to lash out, but he knew this wasn't a battlefield. Instead, he placed his hand gently on her shoulder, reminding her she was not alone. The millionaire sneered, dismissing both of them with a wave of his hand, muttering about how she had become weak and troublesome. His empire, his business reputation, his image, all of it mattered more than the woman carrying his unborn child. For him, her worth was measured by how well she stayed silent, beautiful, and obedient. And when she didn't, when she dared to question, his temper burned like wildfire. The days that followed were heavy with humiliation. She stayed in her brother's small apartment for a while, unable to face the mansion that felt like a gilded cage. Nights were sleepless, filled with the echo of that slap, the shame of being seen so vulnerable, and the quiet terror of raising a child in such a toxic environment. But her brother's presence was steady. He cooked for her, walked with her to her appointments, and reminded her that the strength she thought she had lost was still inside her, waiting to rise. Slowly, she began to see herself again, not as a helpless wife clinging to a crumbling marriage, but as a mother, to be, as a sister, as a woman with dignity. She recalled how she once dreamed of becoming a nurse, of helping others heal, and how those dreams were buried beneath her husband's shadow. And now, with every gentle word from her brother, with every reminder that she mattered, she began to breathe again. The millionaire, meanwhile, grew restless. His business was faltering under the weight of scandals and risky investments. He tried to lure her back, promising gifts and apologies, but his words rang hollow. She could see now what she had been blind to before. His love had never been love, only ownership. And when she refused to return, his fury turned into threats. He would cut her off financially. He would take her child away. He would destroy her if she dared to live without him. But she was no longer alone. Her brother had connections, not just within the hospital, but within the veteran community. People who understood loyalty, honor, and the duty to protect. Together, they built a circle of support around her, shielding her from her husband's schemes. Legal aid was secured, medical care ensured, and slowly, her world that had been shattered began to take shape again. The climax of her struggle came the day she went into labor. Her husband stormed into the hospital, demanding to be present, to reclaim his image as the doting father. But it was her brother who stood firm at the door of the delivery room, eyes steady, voice unyielding. "You've done enough harm," he told him, and for once, the millionaire's wealth, arrogance, and power meant nothing. When the baby's first cry filled the air, it wasn't a sound of despair but of rebirth. She held her child close, tears streaming down her face, not of shame, but of gratitude, of strength, of survival. She whispered promises to her newborn, vowing that no hand would ever again strike her or break their spirit. Her life didn't transform overnight. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in years, she felt hope. She found work, slowly rebuilt her independence, and with her brother's constant encouragement, she stepped out of the shadow of wealth and into the light of her own worth. The millionaire's empire crumbled, consumed by his pride and reckless choices, but she no longer cared. Her victory wasn't in seeing him fall, it was in rising herself. And as she stood one evening, rocking her baby to sleep by the window of her modest apartment, she smiled softly. She had been broken, humiliated and betrayed, but she had not been destroyed. She had rediscovered herself, found strength and family, and created a new life out of ashes. That was her true fortune. Dear listeners, if this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Royal Stories. Every bit of your support keeps these emotional journeys alive for millions around the world. Special request to comment. If you believe that no woman should ever suffer in silence, and that family can be the strongest shield, please write, strength and love, in the comments below.